Hi, folks. Christmas is around the corner, and yes, even writers are affected by the festivities. Chaos, nostalgia, noisy New Year's nights, and the pressure to start again. Tonight, three writers open that corner of the creative mind. We usually keep quiet, so stay with us for additional insights. Good evening, folks. Welcome to another Witty Wicklow Writers Workshop. Myself, Jeroen Vandommele, and Maria Stavropoulou. We are here to deliver another workshop. We are back online after our first live session, a format that will definitely repeat in 2026. Tonight, Christmas is very much on the cards or on the table, just to be more according to the festivity. And we also need to talk about New Year's projects from writers or a more broadly creative standpoint. And that's not all. We also talk about fate or the lack of it and how it shapes our lives in December and throughout the year, both personally and as authors. And last but not the least, we will read passage of our work at the end of this podcast. So make sure to be part of the conversation by using the chat box. Let us know if we have missed a relevant angle, or if you would like to share your own take in the comments section. You're also very welcome to subscribe to the channel, or if you would like to support our work, one avenue is to join our memberships and unlock special perks. So let's start. I was just greeted by two dear guests. Maria, how are things on your end?
All good. Getting ready for Christmas, which is not coming as fast as I would like you to, but nearly there, so I can hold on for another week and a half.
Jeroen, are you very much looking forward for a break?
Yeah. I won't get too much of a break, but I'm looking forward to Christmas. I'm a Grinch in recession. I used to be a really bad Grinch, and I'm now slowly getting out of being in Grinch mode. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to it now. It'll be good.
Good stuff. For the viewers, guys, there is a poll. Okay, there is a poll that I would like you to answer. Okay, and I'm going to read it out loud. It's down next to the comment section. I would like to understand from your point of view, how does Christmas affect your creativity? And you don't need to be writers. You can be all sorts of creators. It's not just limited to writers in this conversation. Is this season boosting your creativity? Is it killing it? Are you using it as a retreat, or you can ignore it and write or create anyway? We will discuss the results throughout the session, but for now, let's get into the three topics we have on the table. And yeah, Maria, I would like to understand what's on the cards for your Christmas, and how much writing do you think you'll be able to put in place during the next, say, 15 days?
So I'll be taking a break for most of my work for Christmas. So I'm hoping that is going to be a very quiet few days that I've been craving for a long time and I haven't been able to have. So the goal is to write as much as possible, because I will be in this, warm, cozy, have 10 too many hot chocolates atmosphere. Being around family, not having to worry about the things you worry daily, which is holidays, I guess. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I might just sleep and eat all day, which is more likely, but I will strive for the former.
Yeah. Do you have anything in particular that you would like to take advantage during the Christmas period when it comes to writing? Do you think it suits a specific format, or you just allow the season to inspire you?
I think it's very easy to lose yourself in the festivities, because I don't know, sometimes I feel we can get way too happy, or at least much happier than usual during Christmas, and then you want to write something happy, or you do this, so you may volunteer, you may pay attention to what's happening around the world and feel a bit more affected by that, so you can go write like a family story or a personal, Christmas carol sort of thing. I find that I don't get as affected as I, perhaps thought I would be, because I'm a very emotionally driven person. I just find that it relaxes me, and when I'm relaxed and I feel I have the time and I don't have to, censor myself with the specific time of day for writing, I write more. Then maybe in itself that writing could go one way or another, I guess. But no, I can say that I don't find it as distracting, because I'm guessing because I'm writing fantasy, it's already so far removed from what I do every day. So it's another world entirely. So I think perhaps that's why they're so separate in my head.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward for Christmas. For me, Christmas is something I would say a bit different from the ordinary. I usually say that there's not much of Christmas in my Christmas, and that's why I like Christmas that much. I'm going to try to unpack that for people who are not aware with my concept of Christmas. I typically treat it as a retreat, so I just isolate. I stay on my own for a good few days. I would probably initiate that isolation session around the 20, and I just come back to life around Stephen's Day, which for people who are not aware of is the 26th. So all I do is I meditate, I plan, and I just let things slow down. I voluntarily stay off Facebook Messenger, emails, and WhatsApp, especially during the day, just not to be distracted. That I would use internet just to browse things that are connected to the stuff I'm trying to explore, which is typically personal development or creative and cultural ideas that I want to expand. And I cannot wait for that. Jeroen, you tend to write every single day, and I admire you for that and for many other reasons. But I will leave your ego. I will give your ego a rest now. Are you taking a break over Christmas, or are you refusing to make an exception?
No, well, I'm kind of struggling with that a little bit. I would like to think that I will write over Christmas, but I know that the reality will probably be a different scenario. But I'm really going to try and find some time, if I can, every day for 10 minutes to write, because I'm finding now that when I don't write, which doesn't happen that often, to be fair, but when I don't write, I find like I'm nearly, I don't know, missing something, or like I feel a bit weird when I don't write. Do you know what I mean? So like, even if I get like 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day over the Christmas period, I'll be actually happy with that. But recently I was away for a good few days, and in that time I didn't write at all. And I felt really strange. It's such a weird feeling. It felt strange not to write. And I had this kind of nearly pressure in my own head to kind of like go and write something, even if it's for 4 minutes or whatever it was. It was very strange. And so I was like, no, I'm going to try and do it all the way through Christmas if I can. And even 10 minutes, I'd be happy with that. If I can get more, great, but yeah, like the reality of it as well is that you're going to be doing things, you're going to have family around, you're going to have, there's going to be lots and lots to do. But I think I will be able to try and find somewhere 10 minutes, even early in the morning, or at some point I will just grab some minutes and just go and do it. Because today, for example, I started writing and I was like, I have to do 5 minutes. I had a busy day and I really want to do 5 minutes. I ended up doing an hour. I was delighted. I was like, yes, I've broken through a little bit. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm going to really try, excuse me, to make sure that I'm getting that time. Because as I said, for me now, it's become a really strange thing not to write. So it's become almost, I don't know. Yeah, it's just a strange feeling. You don't feel like you've achieved something in the day. You feel a little bit like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a strange one. I can't really explain it, but I'd rather not have that feeling, so I'm going to try and write.
No, we don't want you grumpy. We want you to bring your best humor. So we don't want that. No. We are very happy with this version. Do you think that Christmas can affect your writing style? There will be some festivities elements in your stories, or would you separate realities and focus on the one you are creating on a paper?
For me or for
Yeah.
Maria? Sorry.
I can start with you if you don't mind. Yeah.
I think I'd like to think that it won't affect it. The only thing that might affect, I think what I'm writing is, like Maria was saying, I'm writing something that's not, it's not very Christmassy. So I don't think it's going to affect it so much. But it may, and it'll be an interesting one to see that maybe because I'm in a different mind space over Christmas, will it change the way that I write or change what I'm writing about? I've found recently that I've started writing, I took a little leaf out of Maria's book and I've started writing some short stories. And it's funny because those short stories are very much affected by, you know, the mood of the day or the mood of the 5 minutes, you know, much more than the main block of writing that I'm doing. They are very much impacted by things that happened that day or how I'm feeling that day or how I am in my life that day, let's say, which is very it's an unusual one, and it's one I'm keen to explore because it's now produced a couple of things that I really didn't expect, you know, and I've just allowed that to happen. So maybe when I'm in a different frame of mind over Christmas, or I'm more relaxed, or I'm more, I don't know, relaxed in family or whatever, or enjoying festivities, maybe that'll produce some short stories that I don't expect, you know. I don't really see myself bringing Scrooge or A Christmas Carol into the scenario, but who knows? Do you know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah, there's always some seeds for new ideas. I'm just having a look at the poll here. How does Christmas affect your creativity? No one said that is a booster, and I'm actually not surprised, but there might be some odd viewer out there. 2 people said it's killing their mood for writing, and one said they will use it as a retreat, and I'm not joining that person to use it as a retreat because otherwise we'll break the concept. Another one said, I will ignore it and write. Anyway, people use the poll because I'm very interested in seeing the impacts of Christmas when it comes to creativity, because I know that the energy levels are not the same because there's so much going on that even if you want to focus on yourself, by that time you're usually drained. That was my experience back in the days when I was part of those things. I'm interested, Maria, you as a fantasy author, I think there's some common ground with Christmas. Did you ever think about having your own Christmas evening translated into a story?
Yeah, I've been thinking that because, like, you know, and hopping on what Jeroen said with the short stories, it depends on the mood. You can experiment. You can even use, like, in the website where I publish my stories, Readsy, they have prompts every week, so you can just be inspired by them. So I've been thinking, you know, because I wouldn't bring anything Christmassy into my fantasy book at the moment because as I said, they're 2 different worlds. But I can, if I have something to write, it could be a short story. It could be, you know, something less commercial, I guess, than, you know, in the book and having to, I don't know, create an equivalent of Christmas in there or something like that. So yeah, I feel Christmas Day is a lot of feelings, whether you like it or not. So I think some of it I might need to let out, and I believe a short story would be the best way to do that. Yeah,
I say like short stories, they are good for Christmas, and you can even read them, you know, for family, for even for kids. Did you ever think about writing for kids, guys? It is not related to what we are talking about, but just crossed my mind. Was it something that you considered, especially like Jeroen, you have a son? I'm sure it crossed your mind at some point.
Oh, it definitely has. I've thought about it a few times, writing for kids, but I haven't actually done it yet. But it's something that I would want to explore, especially when I see the total change in the last maybe 20 years about, you know, the amount of writers that are out there who are writing for kids, the amount of books that are now available for kids is absolutely phenomenal. It's brilliant to see. And like, it's become reading for kids, and I suppose writing for kids has become such a big deal now. Do you know what I mean? And it seems like everybody is doing, writing for kids, or there's just so much of it out there, which is fantastic, because I mean, the more books there are, the better. The more kids are reading, the better, So it's definitely something I've thought about, and it's something that I will maybe try in the next year or two. I've recently been more and more opening myself up to the idea of doing different types of things. So not keeping myself in one particular thing. So definitely writing for children is something that I will, I'd say, explore in the next maybe 6 to 8 months. Do you know what I mean? And I just think it'd be kind of cool, because it's a totally different audience. You're writing for a very open mind and an imagination that is really wide open. Like, whereas we as adults, our imaginations have become more limited or more constrained in certain things, because just learning and life and whatever else. But for a kid who's got a total open imagination, like, I think that'd be a really cool thing to be able to write for kids and to see what reaction that you'd get from that, So it's like a totally different concept. It's almost like a different type of writing, I would imagine, as well. You're writing in a very different way than you would normally write. So yeah, I think it's definitely something I'd approach, and I'd have a look at. And again, like I was just saying, I've been doing some short stories, and in that I've also been thinking, would it be nice to make a few short stories but aimed for kids, So yeah, definitely I will look at it in the next while, and then we'll see, Yeah,
we will get into New Year's resolutions in a bit, and maybe that can be one of them. We'll get into that topic in a few minutes. I was just thinking here, as we're saying, that there are more and more books for kids, but there are less and less children, especially in the Western society. So that's interesting, because you go around and it's not the same as before. I remember when I moved to Ireland in 2009, when you see an Irish couple, they'll have at least 2 kids, and perhaps the third will be on the mother's belly. That's not the case anymore. There was a different Ireland. So it's interesting that there is still this appetite to write for kids when there are less kids, but maybe people just fancy that idea. Did you ever consider it for real, Maria?
Yeah, I actually have, and I'm still considering it, because I have a few years of teaching in my back, some of them kids. So I always find it interesting now that I'm doing it again in the past couple of years more than before. I keep having this sort of, you need different ways to approach children. They might not understand something, or might not want to connect to something. So you have to find ways around it. And sometimes you can see real benefit when you reach out to kids, even if it's just to teach them something. Like, I mostly teach foreign languages, for example. But sometimes I've seen that how kids respond to different things, or to whether you pick your interest, or if you tell them a story, what stories they're interested in, what kind of narrating they prefer. So yeah, it's something that I would like to explore. I think in my mind, it's more difficult than writing for any other audience, really, because you have to be very careful with kids and the messages you get across. But I don't know, I've always enjoyed teaching. So I think if at some point I felt confident about it, I might give it a shot. And with the thing with books these days, I feel we're losing some of the old style kind of book that we grew up with, like more traditional folk tales of different countries, things that, our grandparents believed in. Like in Greece, when I was a kid in the 90s, the kind of book that was very popular was Greek folk stories. So we had our own kind of fairies and goblins and stuff like that. And you grew up with them because your grandparents would believe in certain things. Like, we don't go out on New Year's Eve, for example, because that's when the goblins are out, or, something along those lines anyway. So it was something that we grew up believing, if you want. and I'm seeing that these days is more focused on like family and family dynamics, and I'm fighting with my siblings, and I'm being bullied in school, and it's more about real problems that kids see. A little bit of that magic or the classic kind of story, I feel like we're not seeing that much of it, and I really miss it. And I think if I was a parent, that's the kind of book I'd be looking for more than educational on specific problems. And I might change my mind if I become a parent, but I feel that sort of magic that you need during that age, it's become a bit more, you have to deal, like, this is life, you have to learn how to respond to that, and you need to prepare your kid through these books. And not that they're not interested or like they're not doing they're doing society a big favor, but I think, again, because my fantasy is my thing, I'd like to write fairy tales more than situational books.
Yeah, I think we need some magic elements in our life, and kids for sure. It's part of their upbringing. Let's move to another topic here, fate. I think there's a lot to be said on that. Let's try to link it to the festivities that are in place for the next couple of weeks. Have you heard of Chrismukkah?
Of what?
Chrismukkah. Have you heard of Chrismukkah? You haven't. I can see by your faces. Your faces are there answering without saying. So Chrismukkah is a mix of Christmas and Hanukkah.
Sorry.
So that's pretty much what we do in our household here before my girlfriend leaves, and again when she comes back. And by we, I'm also including my cat. His name is Hanukkah. He's literally named after the festivities. I hope he will join at some point because he's usually around. So myself, like this afternoon, I just arrived home. I was at Chaim Herzog Park for the Hanukkah celebrations. I'm hiding my belly because I ate a few dog nuts. I would look a bit like a sort of a Jewish Homer Simpson, especially because hair is not helping as I age. It was very pleasant to be with the Jewish community in that park. It means a lot for the folks in Ireland. And then when my girlfriend is back around the 26th this year, we will just exchange gifts. So we do a bit of everything. So it's very ecumenical, I'd say. I assume I could even get a few woke points with that for a change. But I will get your thoughts, Maria, on fights, because we haven't really discussed that. So where are you when it comes to that massive aspect of the human nature?
I grew up religious. My grandpa was a priest, and we have some priests and nuns and monks in my family. So it's something that it's a really big part of my life. I find myself, I'm not the kind that is very, what do you call it? I'm out of the box a little bit, if you want. Like, I like asking questions. I like understanding things. I go against things sometimes because I, can't understand it or it doesn't feel right for me. But I was raised Greek Orthodox, which is its own thing. And I find that, I don't know, for me at least, it's always been very helpful in my life. I find this faith renewed in the big religious holidays, of course, because in Greece, Christmas is, at least for some people, because, commercialization is a real big thing. It's a very big religious holiday. And there's a period leading up to it, in which would go to church, would fast. And there's, after New Year's, which is another religious holiday for us, there's a few other events that we celebrate. So they're spread throughout the year. But I find during these big events, especially in Christmas, because, we're all tuned to the goodness of it and the happiness of it, because Easter is a much more severe and sad event. I find myself, getting caught in all that goodness that is, the stories of how Christ was born and all of that. So it's a big thing that I also feel has to do with my writing a little bit, because I'm not writing to, spread it onto other people, because Greek Orthodoxy is about, we really believe that if you want, join. If you don't want, you do your own thing. We're not pushing anyone. So I feel that sometimes it sits a little bit into my writing. So I'm hoping that whatever, that whatever I'm putting down doesn't come out as like pushing or this is the right thing. So whenever I bring religion into the question, it's because a character feels about it or is a certain way. It's a character background for me. It's a way that the story has to go. I'm interested in finding out what other people believe, but I very strongly follow what I was raised, because I think it's such a private thing, such a personal thing. It's where everyone finds comfort. I would have left it behind if I didn't find it comforting, but because I do, and I was very blessed because the people in my family that are very tied to religion were the best people that you'd ever meet, the kindest, the sweetest, the paragons of what a good person should be. I find that it's still very, very strong. And I like how Christmas is a little reminder of all of that, especially when I think back of times I had with my family, and my grandpa especially, because would see him coming and going on the services, during the services all the time. And it's like, it's a really nice picture for me.
I'll be interested in how was perceived your grandpa, or better saying, back in the days in Ireland, it was a prestige to have a family member who was a priest or a bishop or even a nun. Is there any equivalent in Greece back in those days?
Not as much as it used to be, but back when I was a kid, more people were religious than they are now, and now people are turning against the church a lot. So it's not a thing now, but back then, not a great thing. They wouldn't, see as great a respect as they would a couple of decades back, and I'm talking about the 90s again. But yeah, it was, especially in my city, because my city is rather religious, and my grandpa was a prominent person because of the church that he was assigned to, and the work that he did so much work for the community, so much work. Like, he would take confession from thousands of people on the days leading up to Easter. Like, we know that for sure. So yeah, there was a certain respect that came with it, and the people who knew him and the people who love him, I'm very humbled to say that they extend those feelings to us, his family. So I find that there is a certain really nice and warm connection that you can build with people from that. But yeah, definitely church is going through, and religion is going through crisis now. So no, now a lot of people just make fun of them. They call it a profession when we think it's a calling or, a service. So even when I went to uni back in the 2010, I would hear so many things. Like, a lot of people would confront me about that fact. And I'm like, I feel bad that you've never had the opportunity to meet a good person from that, from that group, I guess. And all you hear about is bad stories, and thankfully not as bad as what you hear in Ireland, but it's still like, a scandal would come up every now and then, or someone will have heard of someone. So yeah, your faith can be challenged, I guess, and how we perceive priests and religious people, I think it's a big debate again these days. Because I don't know, somehow, I'm just going to throw that, somehow I think that people are more likely to accept Eastern and Asian religions than they are Western.
Yes.
There's a shift to, you're practicing yoga and you're meditating, that's great, but if you say go to church, people will look at you weird sometimes. So and during Christmas we have conversations with people sometimes, and it feels like, I don't want to appear as anything or push you into anything, but I like the idea of everyone believes whatever they want to believe, and we're all okay with that, and we don't push each other, and we don't call each other names. Perhaps that's a bit of something that I will be writing during Christmas, because I will be back home and sometimes just get provoked.
Yeah. Just I totally relate to what you just said when it comes to the campaign against Christianity. I think it's a complete disgrace. I think it's down to self-hate. But I'm going to put some skin on the game. I used to genuinely dislike Christmas since an early age, but I think I've developed a certain sympathy for it over the last few years since they started to be prosecuted, especially since the so-called political correctness brigade started rebranding Christmas as the season or the holidays. Like, now it's season greetings, holidays. It's Christmas. let's call things by their names. It's Christmas. Like Jesus just said, we are perfectly comfortable celebrating Diwali or even Ramadan or any other religious celebration, and rightly so, because they also need to be celebrated. But when it comes to Christmas, there's all this taboo that it's considered offensive to say, hey, Merry Christmas, when there are people around who don't celebrate it like myself. But I'm not upset by that. I'm in a Christian country. It is what it is. It's part of our culture and fabric of Irish society. So we need to acknowledge that. Some people might hear this and assume I'm speaking as a man of faith. I don't think I am. I mean, I'm a man. Don't misgender me. But I'm not sure if I'm a man of faith in the traditional sense. I'd say I'm more of a believer. Like I pray individually on a daily basis, and I deeply love religious chants in shuls or synagogues. But that's very different from living a structured religious life. That brings me to you, Jeroen. I know you are certainly not a man of faith, but do you think there is any real alternative? Because, say, in other words, even when we remove God from our equation, aren't we still dealing with his absence?
That's a good question.
Put you on the spot, mate.
To preface this, I suppose I am not of faith at all, and I don't have any religion. I've never had any religion. I have the ultimate of respect for people who have faith and who have religion. I have real respect for many, many religions, and I specifically respect people who in this day, in this society, still have a faith. And I hats off to those people. Do you know what I mean? I think that's amazing, but I don't. And you know, I suppose even more so, I'm quite anti-organized religion. That's just, you know, the nature of myself. But like I said, you know, I have respect for people who have religion, and I expect respect back for the fact that I don't have a religion and I don't have a faith. Do you know what I mean? So the way I see it is respect goes two ways. And, you know, if I respect somebody for having that, then they should also respect me for not having it. So, but I would say to you that, you know, especially these days in this society, yes, there is a certain, you know, like, you know, there's a hankering for faith, religion or organized religion, because, you know, we've noticed that when religion disappears, you know, we're left in some sort of chaos, you know, and there's definitely a feeling, a general feeling in society. You see people going more back towards those kind of things, faith, religion. Like Maria said, it's a kind of a comfort thing. You see that definitely. And when you don't have it, and when there isn't any, that's where, you know, it's quite chaotic, you know. So it's an interesting one. And I suppose around this time of year, you know, given the fact that it is probably the biggest Christian celebration, and other religions as well. There's other religions too, but it's the biggest Christian celebration, you know, apart from maybe Easter. Maybe at this time of the year, we feel that even more, you know, there's more of a draw to those things. And it's kind of interesting for me from the perspective of having no faith. And, you know, that's not my thing. As a writer, it's interesting to me because I'm also sometimes trying to write about people who have faith. So it's almost like I'm trying to understand why do you have it? You know, what is it that makes you have it and me not have it? And like I said, I've always been interested in people who have faith. And I really like having conversations with people who have faith, and especially a strong faith, because I'm curious and I want to know, what is it that I'm maybe missing? Or what is it? How come that you are thinking like this? and you believe in this. And like I said, I have real respect for that. And especially people who are really believing, I'm very much like, well, explain it to me. Don't preach to me. Don't try and change my mind, but explain it to me. You know what I mean? Yeah, like don't start that. I'm not interested. You know what I mean? But like don't tell me what it is that makes you believe and makes you have a faith.
But that would be a contradiction. I think if someone approaches you or one of us, and he is he's sure, and he can prove that God exists, that's killing God. There was a philosopher, I don't remember now the name. I think it was not Descartes. I think it was Master Eckhart, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not saying anything wrong in life. But I think it was Master Eckhart who said, proving that God exists is killing God, because if you believe in God, you are never able to interact with God in the same way we are interacting, because otherwise it's not God, it's someone else. God needs to be a supreme entity. God cannot join a podcast the same way we can. It's that simple. That's why, for instance, in Judaism, you never write the whole name of God. You write a dash or an asterisk in the middle, just to remind yourself that you cannot name something that you are not fully aware of what it is, and so you cannot just reduce that entity to a word, because it's beyond you. So you need to think twice before preaching God, and I think that's the worst service that you can do about God, is approaching others and just say, "Here is God. Do you want to buy it? That's I don't know, €10 kilo." It doesn't work like that. It's not like selling ham or cheese. It's something else. And the other way around. How can someone approach us? I'm sure that God doesn't exist. How are you sure? I mean, it's too much. I mean, you can say, I never experienced God. It never came across my life. But maybe I didn't have the right disposal. That's why I think we can only deal with God or His absence. There's nothing in between. I think there's, at least not that I'm aware, I think there's no middle ground. Either you are a believer or you turn your back on God, and that's it. I'm not aware of option C. Maybe there is, and I'm open for that. But I think that's the only two ways to deal with religion. Well, of course, you can pray at home in private, or you can join a community. That's a different thing. But either you believe in God or you don't believe in God. But God will still affect you. It's like you cannot just throw it off the window like some other things. God is always on us, whether it exists or not. It's a very funny element. I think like the way you were describing, Maria, the Christianity and the fact that having faith today is seen as an act of rebellion, that puts us in a very strange category, and there's a price with that. But I'm more interested now in understand, how does that impact you as a writer? Do you think your religious beliefs shape you in a certain type of writer, or they don't have direct repercussions?
That's a very good question. I'd be lying to you if I told you that I believe they haven't affected me at all. But if you asked me for a way to show you that, I couldn't find one. I think it's something that happens subconsciously. Like, for example, I don't know, would I not like to like erotica, for example, because that's a religion thing that that made me not enjoy this kind of writing? Or is it because me as a person are not interested in that? Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you. What I find, though, when I'm writing is that it doesn't tie me down. If I want to write a character that has certain beliefs, is a certain kind of person, I'll write it. I don't feel like, that I'm betraying my faith, for example, because I'm writing about someone who mocks religion. Or if I, get out of the fantasy and writing a short story, for example, in the modern age, I don't feel bad about writing, as I said, about a person that mocks it and questions it, because that happens. That's out there. That's something that I accept. And I'm not expecting anyone to just, accept it just because I have. People have questions, people reject something. As I said, I've met a lot of people that had a certain idea about religion because they never knew anything else. And we were born and raised in the same country. The same church services that were available to me were available to them. There were priests everywhere. We do like plays in school. Christmas was important. Easter was important. So I feel that, perhaps it has affected me because it affected my personality, because I grew up in a religious family. So I've been religious my entire life. So on that aspect, I'm pretty much sure I'd be a very different person if I had been, raised without it, or if I had lost my faith completely at some point, or if I had grown into a person that's, like very, very, very focused on it and loses their self to it, which is another thing that I don't agree with, and I don't find, not interesting. I don't find healthy to just, be very, very, very blind to it. But as a writer, no. And if you want, I like to explore different aspects. I like to write about people who question things. I like to write about people who are very blind in their faith and, will defend things without knowing what really happens, because that's part of reality as well. Like, I can't, as you were saying yourself, I can't prove things. And yet there are some things that I would defend without having a proof for you. Just tell you, because of this, I believe it, or, because it happened to me, or because in my country they say this and that. So I like exploring religion, and I love talking about religion. I don't know why as much as I do, but every conversation I've had about it, it's intrigued me, whether it was with another person who believed. In that case, I find that you don't really have much to say to each other. But the conversations I've had with people who either rejected it completely or were interested but did not believe the same things, I love is that they let you be creative, they let you use your imagination, your arguments. And same thing with writing, which I believe is why I like to explore this topic. And it is a part of my book, a religious society, and how it's affecting life itself, basically, and other people, just, the kind of people that blindly believe in one thing and live their life based on one thing. Because I find it a very, very interesting topic, to see how it's affecting us and how it affects our relationship with other people, and what would be willing to do to defend it, what would be willing to do to protect that way of life. You can have 100,000 ideas stemming from that thing. So yeah, it's just, oh god, it's an endless conversation. Really, we could have to have an entire other podcast for that, because I can just go on rambling about how interesting a topic I find it. But yeah, as I said, at the end of the day, I don't feel it stops me from writing what I want. And I'm very happy about that, because I would not have liked it to be to stand in my way. Like, again, I will not write about something that I believe is blasphemous, because again, that's something that I don't want to do, but I don't feel it's ever stopped me from writing what I want.
Yeah. And I think it shouldn't. Like, I think it's a powerful skill, and it's going to work in your favor. And I often think that people who don't have faith, sometimes they're even more fundamentalist in their own understanding of the world. Especially in this current era. Now, I have no issue with people not having faith, but there's a lot of dogmatics who don't believe in God, and they will make a stand, and they won't accept others' points of view, and it's more and more common. And they will even ostracize you just because you have God in your life. Now, my understanding of life without God is a very lonely one, but people can pursue loneliness. That's fine. That's not a sin or anything like that. That's not wrong. Like, you are responsible for your own path. If you want to exclude God from your equation, then you can. But my thing is that you exclude him. He still exists. But that will be another one, as I said, for another podcast. Let's go to our next topic, which is New Year's. So if there is one festivity that I believe it's not exactly friendly for writers, is New Year's. It's so noisy, it's so messy. I think creative types in general don't really enjoy New Year's Eve, but I may be wrong, so you can let me know, or people in the comments section can prove me that I'm wrong. I was never a fan of that myself, and honestly, the only thing I enjoy more about New Year's than Christmas is the booze. I think people are not surprised at this point. Maria, you don't really drink, or at least nowhere near as much as I do. So I'm curious, how do you approach that wild night of the 31st of December? Are you able to write?
I'll tell you what, I really like the night leading to the 1st of January, because I don't drink, but I eat. And we have this lovely tradition in Greece where on that night, like as soon as it strikes midnight, and we say our wishes and we hug and kiss each other, and we will, at least the person who's considered lucky will be forced to exit the house and then ring the doorbell or rap on the door and be let in just to bring their good luck with them. So we have a ton of things. My favorite one is that we bake a really tasty cake and we hide a gold coin in it, and then we cut it, and whoever gets the coin is supposed to be lucky for the rest of the year. And because we do that at night, I have never in my life consider drinking, because that's the part that I'm waiting for. Get the wishes out of the way and get so yeah, that's my booze. Like food is my booze if you want. And yeah, because we only have it once a year, it's ultra precious. Yeah, so that's the, I don't know if it's a sad truth, but that's the truth. I could never touch alcohol again, but food, oh no. Not discussing that.
Yeah. So I already said that I don't really do New Year's resolutions. What I didn't say, although I may have hinted that it is by the time that New Year's Eve arrives, I'm actually looking forward to be around people again, because I typically, as I said, I stay in isolation mode for nearly a week. I look like a fool when it comes to 31st of December, because I've been on my own for quite some time. I also don't do dry January because I have a very boring week at the end of December. So I just eat basic stuff. I drink or I barely drink. So I'm the opposite. I usually look slimmer after Christmas, which is quite unusual. Jeroen, I know you actually started writing after making New Year's resolutions. Can you let us know about that process and whether it's still impacting you as a writer?
Well, yeah, it's a funny one because I think last year was the first time that I actually, took a New Year's resolution and said, right, this is actually going to happen. I've done it for a million times, a million years in a row. I'm going to do this and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to, I don't know what else crap that I was talking. And not one of them I even went close to. And I made 2 resolutions last year, right? And I've completed both of them, which I'm quite happy with. The first one was that I was going to write, and I was going to write every day, right? So that's happened. And I can honestly say, well, there was a couple of influencers on that, but I can honestly say that was the real kind of instigator in my writing, was to make that New Year's resolution, because I literally started pretty much on the 1st of January, and I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to write, and I'm going to write every day. That's resolution 1. Resolution 2 was that I was going to say yes to stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I was going to open myself up to not say no to stuff anymore. And obviously within reason, do you know what I mean? If somebody comes up and asks me for $1 million, well, sorry, no, I don't have it. You know what I mean? But I wasn't going to say no to opportunities. This podcast is a point in fact. I've said yes to so many things this year, and those things have opened so many other things that I would never have expected ever in my life. And it's just from that New Year's resolution where I was like, I'm going to say yes to stuff. I'm tired of saying no. I'm tired of making excuses as to why I can't do something, or I won't do something, or I won't try something. No, I'm just going to go and say yeah. And even if I'm very much outside my comfort zone and very much not where I like to be, then I'm still going to say yeah. And I'm going to do things that, and this year, apart from writing, I have done that on many occasions. And being the fact that I've said yes, something else has come in my path, which I would a year ago would have said, definitely no way, not a chance, no way. And on this year, I'm going, yeah, sure, I'll do it. No problem. I'll try it, you know. And so for the first time, maybe in my whole life, I took New Year's resolution to a whole new level last year. And I'm interested to see what I'm going to see coming out of New Year's resolutions this year, because I'm like, ooh, that opened a whole thing for me, do you know? But until last year, I never. It didn't. I made resolutions which I probably broke about 2 hours after I made them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I never looked at them again. Do you know
the booze. Blame it on the booze.
Blame it on the booze, you know. But I'm quite happy to really say that this year I've actually just through that I've literally done things this year that I would never have done before ever, and I've done some really cool stuff that, like I said, a year ago, there's no way in hell that I would. And when it comes to writing, I managed to write pretty much every day. I could probably count on one hand how many days I didn't write this year. So, and I have finished a book. I didn't think that was going to be possible, but that's done and dusted. And now I'm working on other stuff. So, yeah, it's been a good year, and I'm interested to see what I'm going to come up with this New Year's Eve, because now I know I can do it. So what am I going to come up with this year? Am I going to try and do something like that again? Come up with a realistic goal that I can say, yes, I'm going to go and do that. I don't know. We'll see, you know. But it's an interesting one. But like you, I've never been really a fan of New Year's, especially in Ireland. I find that New Year's is pretty drab, to be honest with you. Everybody goes out, everybody gets drunk. It's just boring, you know. I like going home for New Year's because, you know, all the family comes together and friends come together, and then there's, you know, a fireworks display. And when I'm there, when I'm in Kent, I enjoy New Year's Eve. It's something nice. But in Ireland, you know, the best part of New Year's Eve for me is sitting watching Jules Holland Hootenanny on the telly. Do you know what I mean? That's, you know, because it's all cool music. That's the best bit of New Year's for me. Do you know what I mean? So that'll tell you how good I think it is, you know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. And it's also like Christmas as well. I believe firmly that, you know, Christmas Day is one day, right? New Year's Day is one day. And there's so much hype, commercial, you know, like, I mean, Halloween had barely finished and Christmas was in your face all the time. Oh, I didn't buy this, go get, like, it's mad. It's one day, people. Do you know what I mean? It really is, you know.
Yeah, but man, it's one day, but there's loads of people making money out of it. That's the problem.
100%. 100%. Dude, I was talking to somebody recently who is she's a buyer, right? So she was saying to me that she only works in 2 seasons, Christmas and not Christmas. Do you know when Christmas starts for buyers? It starts on the 1st of April. That's when Christmas starts for buyers. So for a big store who have to buy in, I don't know, next year's clotheslines, I don't know what. It starts on the 1st of April. That's when Christmas starts. And the only non-Christmas part is the bit after Christmas until the 1st of April. I was like, mind blown. It's like, wow. Like,
sounds like
That's a very long Christmas. Yeah. One of my New Year's resolutions in 2024, so for this year, was to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I did. So I want to thank everyone that is watching us, who's subscribing, including the subscriber 1,000 who probably is watching us. Is, you know, and we got to see him in person, so I couldn't dismiss this moment to thank every single subscriber up to 1,000. We are now over 1,000. We are 1,085. So I want to thank everyone who watched this podcast throughout the year of 2025 and 2024, because we started actually with Jeroen on the 28th of January 2024. So Jeroen, you are also historical in this venture. So you'll never lose that status. So no, we cannot forget that. And so that was one of the resolutions I managed. The other one was tied to that. Was actually one resolution in two was to get 3,000 hours in the same day, because that will unlock me partial monetization. It's now available. So guys, if you want to support this podcast, there's something called Super Thanks and Super Chat. So you can use that option just to express your satisfaction, just get us going, because we are all an independent project. We are not financed by some huge institution. We are just regular people running shows and enjoying ourselves and trying to provide you with content that makes sense. So I'll be very happy if you can support us in that manner. The other one, you can be a member now. So there are two memberships: Witty Mates or Witty Diplomats. Yeah, Witty Diplomats. So if you want to be a member, you have access to content that others won't be able to access. There is some perks that I think are very, very interesting. Make sure to explore. You just go to the chat box, and those two options are there, and choose the one that suits you the best. The other resolution I had was losing weight, but especially after the donuts today, I won't be able to say yes. Resolution achieved. And I gave up. It's already near 31st of December. So I said, I'm going to eat those donuts. And there was the resolution that I heard, and that was not mine. And I want to comment with you guys. And I think it's also food for thought for our viewers. That I heard on a podcast, I think in 2022 or 2023, it was a life-changing. That came from one of my favorite podcasters in America, Patrick Bet-David. And Patrick Bet-David was mentioning that, yes, you should have goals or resolutions for the upcoming year, but one of them is becoming the person that is able to achieve those goals.
Wow.
Because it doesn't make much sense to have those objectives if you don't have the persona, if you don't have the skills. Like I wanted to get to 3,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers. I did, but I did because I was able to put hard work. And to put hard work, I had to learn how to be disciplined, determined, and manage my emotions throughout the year, because there were up and downs. So it's very important that to treat us as an asset. I think people tend to think of objectives as something that is external, and to a degree they are. But if you don't have the capacity to pursue those objectives, then they are just some pretty aspirations. So I would always incentive people to have a couple of resolutions or goals that are related to personal development, because without that, you won't achieve all of that. Like for instance, when it comes to food eating, I'm still very weak. Like I see those donuts, and I turn to a Brooklyn Homer Simpson. So I cannot help myself. Maybe I need to think. One of my goals is to be able to be sweet blind. I see those donuts and they don't exist. Not just losing weight. Like I need to be able to say no when it's the right time to say no. And I'm still not that person. Maybe it's a goal to think of. And definitely I think it's also related to writing. Like you mentioned, I want to write every day. That's great, but you need to have that obsession. It's a healthy obsession, but you have to be so interested that, as you mentioned several times, and I totally relate to that if I don't put a couple of paragraphs every day, then I go back to bed in the evening and I won't be able to rest. And I think at our stage, our life stage, all that we don't want is to have a terrible night of sleep and then feel shit the day after. We don't want that anymore.
I think that's a very interesting and deep kind of way of looking at it, because I think to achieve anything in life, you often have to change yourself and the way you look at things, or the way you action things, or the way you are in your discipline. I think that's actually a really, really cool thing to say, because you can write down 50 New Year's resolutions and do nothing about it. But if you wrote down one and then you went and changed yourself in order to be able to achieve that, that's very, very cool. That's actually something I'm going to take with me. That I think that's a really interesting concept.
Let's get into the readings. No, we started this piece a couple of podcasts back, and I think it's very cool to share. So let's get into our readings. I'm just letting people know that the memberships are in the comment section. So if you want to become a Witty diplomat or a Witty mate, you're more than welcome. There are already a couple of members, and I hope there will be a few more as we approach 2026. Who's going to start this time with the readings? Maybe Maria, do you want to be the first one?
Sure, why not? Well, my throat still, is not closed up from all the talking that I do in this podcast. So switching to the screen when I actually have the thing. For today, I was thinking to do, again, a short story. And then I thought, well, you know what? My main resolution, because I haven't, thought about all of them for 2026, is to finish the damn book. Because I started it in mid-2024, and I am very disappointed with myself that I didn't finish it this year because I really wanted to. And I let myself go on that goal because it was a very, very hard year for me. So I said, you know what? I am going to read a bit from the book and a draft. That's not a finalized thing, because I said, whatever it is, shitty or not, it might push me to actually, get back more into it. So this is part of a chapter that I'm going to read from the book that will not write itself. So this chapter is called Things That Disappear. The half-burned document Arch-Artificer Dakan was holding had counted more than 40 deaths in its name by the time it found its way to his bony fingers. He placed it on an enormous plated tray he took from a safe protected by 4 puzzle locks and 2 poison traps, and carried it to a second room hidden behind the stained glass window adorning his study. To any other eye, the window looked outside to the waves crashing on the dark rocks the mother was perched precariously on, and would not think of it any further. To the bloodshot eye of Arch-Artificer Dakan, it was the cleverest architectural wonder ever created, the secrets of its mechanism known only to him and to the corpse of his predecessor who had taught them to him, now lying broken at the depths below. At first, the thought of working away at his own lab without the incessant commentary and corrections on how he did things and how he should have done things and how he should not be doing things would bring him peace and quieten whatever his master was rambling about. He hadn't expected his voice to persist, though, following him around, shouting commands in his head, always correcting him, mocking him, laughing at the precision of his movements. Another thing that was also known only to him was that his slain master's voice was not only in his head anymore, and that his rapid descent to madness had been compromising his entire enterprise for more than a year now. Put the tray under the onyx lamp. Don't breathe on it. The Arch-Artificer slammed the tray on a small table lit by a dark red light radiating from a black lamp. The paper flew upwards for a moment before gently landing on the right handle of the tray, spraying ashes all around it. Leaves on the wind would have a steadier hold. Shut up, Dakan murmured. He carefully gathered the scattered ashes and placed them back on the tray. He would have to perform an additional step now to incorporate the ashes back into the document. He clenched his teeth and got to work. By the time he was done, the sun had disappeared twice into the horizon, and the Arch-Artificer had barely slept or eaten. Keeping up the pretense that his office did not extend beyond what his people could see required him to spend a lot of time behind his desk during the busy hours and disappear into his private laboratory only in between visits or when he knew he had assigned a task that would take a while to complete, thus leaving him undisturbed for some time. Dakan had never taken an apprentice. He didn't trust the endless parade of the clueless, naive, eager to please young people the mother had embraced during his lifetime. He was like that once, looked at his master with awe, cried with joy when he was selected to be his apprentice, relished the jealous stares of his fellow students. They were not to be trusted, neither back then nor now. He ran his hand through his hair and absent-mindedly rested it over his missing eye. He had been lucky, yes, but he would never make the same mistake twice. Why the mother? She had asked him once. She was still very young then. She was still asking questions. A nasty habit. He had nipped it in the bud, because it's the only mother you will ever have. Duncan sat back in his chair and stretched his legs. This kind of work always exhausted him, but he wouldn't trust anyone else with it. He looked outside the window. Incriminating letters, genuine curiosity, confidence in another. He scoffed. The sun had completely sunk in the horizon the mother presented before him, only leaving traces of orange behind that would soon fade. It's interesting, he thought, to know where to look for the effect of things that disappear. Yeah, some reaction, please.
Very good. I think you need to finish that book, Maria, and it's to be published. And somehow, I heard of a publishing house already interested in yours. I'm not going to say the name, that I want some self-promotional here.
Yeah, but, I have to sit down and write it, guys.
Finish the damn book.
Yeah. I think if I perhaps said this is the only resolution, like my only goal for the year, come what may, hell or high water, that's the one thing I'm supposed to do, then maybe we'll have something by the end of 2026.
I hope so. I look forward to reading it. I really do. I've read some other stuff of your stuff, and I've read that chapter, and I'm really looking forward to getting the finished article.
Oh, thank you so much. You're a very big fan. You'll be mentioned in the acknowledgements for sure. I mean that. If it wasn't for Jeroen, I'm telling you.
Well, then if Jeroen is going to mention in the acknowledgement, I'll think twice about publishing it. Sorry. No. No, just joking. That's another reason for me to publish the book. By the way, for the viewers that are watching us, I just started a company called Ring of Culture. If you go on ringofculture.com, it's all very new. And one of the things we're going to do is publish books. So if you guys are interested in submitting your book for consideration, you can email info@ringofculture.com. Okay, info, I will repeat, info@ringofculture.com. Submit your manuscript, a short bio, and the synopsis. Nothing complicated, just a page. Just understand more or less what is the story or the content in a nutshell. Try to know more who you are, just because I think it's also important to understand the person's background. Not that I'm going to prioritize anyone, just I want to understand who I'm talking to, and also to come up with the best format to promote your book, because each writer needs to be directed to the market in a different way. So here is the invite. There'll be other ventures in this Ring of Culture. One is the podcast that is already going on. There'll be workshops as we do, the three of us, not just online, but also in person. But I'll get to it in a second in more detail. I'm going to read my piece now with your permission. So how do I do this? Yeah, I'm already there. Good stuff. So surprisingly, or perhaps not, I don't have any content about Christmas. So instead, I'm going to read something about the FAI Cup final. So the FAI Cup final, for those who are not aware, is the equivalent of the FA Cup final in England. So this is something football related, but you'll see that there are some football elements, but it's much more than that. So the piece is titled Bad Luck Cork. Okay, and it says the following: everyone expected Rovers to win again, but I walk into the Aviva with the secret hope that I could prove the others wrong. And for a while, I believed I might say it out loud after the final whistle. On a personal note, I was boozing, gifted a seat close to the pitch, surrounded by fellow Cork fans who looked equally confident. I even end up beside Neil Fenn, not only a Cork legend, but a true rebel, though I only realized it after the game over a pint with my buddy. Yes, true story. I spent more than 90 minutes chatting with Neil like he was just another lad. Despite the gap on the table, Cork looked Rovers straight in the eye. And maybe that's why the champions, Ireland's Sharks, responded with respect. We even had the first 2 chances to take the lead. And I know how important it is to score early. And I said that to Neil without knowing who he was, Neil. But after those missed chances, came up an unnecessary red card right before the break. Harry Kevin was both too slow and too aggressive, trying to stop the former Leesider Josh O'Nohan. And that cost us dearly. The second half would be harsh, would be very harsh, said Neil, still a mystery man to me at that stage. He was analyzing the game with calm, logic, football science almost, the opposite of your typical away supporter, myself, who lives and dies with every pass. Minute 66 was luck for the Dubs. They finally found a way to put the ball in the back of the net. To be fair, they weren't just lucky. They were pressing hard and smelling it coming. What do you tell to the lads now? I asked my mysterious neighbor, clearly someone who knew football from the inside. Well, you tell to manage their emotions for the next 5 to 10 minutes, because the opponent will be all over you, and then you replace your midfield, they are typically tired, and bring someone up fresh on the front. You have to take risks, that's what it is. And by the time the substitutions came, Rovers had already doubled their lead. And Neil said to me, it's over, this will be a hard watch, said him with a sad face. Once again, he was right. I just lost my final, just a sec. Once again, he was right. What I have so apologies, I lost the rest because I was reading. Cork never really bent, but we lacked the quality to make the difference. Keating came and earned the honor of playing a FAI Cup final. The rest battled the best they could, which wasn't enough. And that's why we are playing in the first division in 2026. Once again, we are in the graveyard. That was it. Some
Cool,
football here.
I'll tell you with full honesty, it's the first time I've ever been interested in a sports piece that wasn't chess. That was very good. I was listening like, well done. It's very hard to achieve with me. I don't have a mind for sports.
You didn't fall asleep, so that's not bad. Considering it's already nearly 10 p.m. we're talking about football. Because my mother would. I mean, she will probably make some effort because it's me, and I'm her beautiful son. But still, she will probably fall asleep. So thanks. I'm happy with that.
You would see. No, it was actually interesting. I'm not surprised because you wrote it, but I'm surprised in general, like material of it, that I was interested in it because sports, very good.
Yeah, I'd say that sometimes I write. I'm going to be crucified with that, but I mean I'm crucified all the time. I'd say sometimes my pieces on writing are more interesting than some of the League of Ireland games. Okay, and don't tell that on my podcast on Thursdays.
No, that was actually really good. That was great. Really, really well put together.
So you're going to have the final act, Jeroen. So over to you.
Okay, so just bear with me a second. So this is a small extract of the book that I have recently finished and which I'm hoping to get published next year. It just talks about a huge trip that I went on when I was quite young. With that, I'll just get started. So my uncle Joost was a communist and had been to East Germany several times during the early 1980s. While there, he'd built up a friendship with the translator who worked with him. This man had 2 sons and asked Joost if he had any relations maybe who could be interested in becoming his eldest son's pen pal. The boy was around the same age as me, so my uncle had suggested me. From about the age of 12 or so, we had started writing letters to one another. After building up regular contact, the idea of maybe one of us visiting the other had come up. He couldn't travel out of East Germany. Nobody could, until they were 65 years old. We came up with the idea of that I would go to visit him. I first had to go through about 6 months of visa application process with the East German embassy in London, but eventually I had been given a visa so I could travel into East Germany. It was the summer holidays. I had flown to Belgium and spent some time with my grandfather. After about a week there, I caught the train from Antwerp to Moscow, which stopped in East Berlin. Again, I was traveling alone. I was 14 years old. The journey was interesting. The train left Antwerp on a Saturday evening and was pretty full. A lot of people heading towards Poland or further into Russia. The thing I couldn't get over was the amount of toilet paper and nappies people had with them. People had very large packs, maybe 48 rolls of toilet paper with them. I soon found out why. Toilet paper in the communist bloc had gigantic wooden splinters in it. We traveled through Belgium and into what was then West Germany. Eventually, we approached the border with East Germany. That involved East German border guards getting on and checking all papers and the train for contraband. Then we traveled through East Germany and on towards Berlin. We made one stop in West Berlin. It was amazing how clean and white and opulent and brightly lit it looked in comparison to what I had already seen in East Germany. We then arrived in Friedrichstraße station. This was my getting off point. The station straddled the border, so half was in the west and half was in the east. I have never seen anywhere with more soldiers and police in my life. I actually got off the train in West Berlin on the platform and then queued to get into East Berlin. There was literally a wall of barbed wire splitting the two sides. I queued up and they checked my papers and visa and finally let me through. I went to the station on the east side where I was met by my uncle's friend. We got on the S-Bahn, which is their tram service, and headed out to where he lived. My 6-week adventure in East Germany had begun. The very first thing we had to do, even before going to his house, was to go to the police station, which was 5 minutes from his house. Here again, I had to produce my papers and go through everything for at least a half an hour. Then they told me that I would have to report in every day to that police station. The family I was staying with then informed the police that 3 of the 6 weeks I would be going with the boys to the boys' grandparents in the south of East Germany. I had to give them a time and day when I would be going, and then would have to report in every day to a local police station near the grandparents' house. They also needed a full written report, including times and dates of where and when I would be over the next 6 weeks. When this had been done, I could finally go to the house I was staying in. The family I stayed with were lovely. The house was a 3-story house. The man, his wife, their 2 sons, and his parents all lived there together. The man's wife's parents lived in the countryside down to the south in East Germany. The boys were on summer holidays like me, so we would go around and explore the area and go into East Berlin to explore it. They had a billiards table downstairs, which we'd play when we were in the house and not exploring. When their dad wasn't working, he would often bring us to historical sites to visit them. The boys were keen to learn English and I was keen to practice my German, so we spoke both. There was a phone in the house, and at this stage, we now had a phone at home in Kinvara. The man told me that I could call home a few times to let my mum know I was okay. But when you made a call, he had warned me that all calls were tapped and to be careful what I said. In order to make a call abroad, you had to first call a telephone central and explain where you were trying to call and why. It would usually take half an hour of waiting, and eventually I would be able to hear my mum's scratchy voice on the other side. These calls were very expensive, so I didn't do it very often. I really enjoyed being in Berlin. It was literally eye-opening. And one day we all piled into their Lada and started the 6-hour drive to Freiburg, where the grandparents lived. It was a hot Sunday and aircon was non-existent. I remember we stopped somewhere to get some food and petrol. The food was allegedly mashed potato and sausages, but that's yet to be confirmed. Anyway, we finally made it down. The grandparents lived in a beautiful old house with a massive garden just a little outside the city. It was beautiful hot summer weather and we had a ball. We used to cycle to the swimming pool in the town, and literally spent our days there. We were just free to be kids and do what we wanted to do. There was more freedom there, even though I still had to report to the police station every day. In Berlin, it felt like every movement was tightly controlled. People were very worried, as it was known that the Stasi, or the secret police, had informers everywhere and had people in every neighborhood spying for them. People got on with their neighbors and did a lot of community things together, but it was almost out of a sense of fear. They didn't really trust their neighbors, as nobody knew who would be informing on who. I'd been told by the family to be careful who I talked to and what I talked to them about. And that's basically it.
Wow.
Chilling.
Very good.
It's, yeah.
I felt I was going back to the communist era. Huh? I could smell the trams and the greatness from those times. Yeah.
I can't say the same because I think I'm a little bit too young, but it definitely felt like I was there. I'll tell you that. That's very. I don't know. That you know, to someone like me has a.
Sorry, Maria. I need to clarify that I'm not that old that I lived in the communist era. Just for the viewers, huh? I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to disappoint my groupies here. You know, I just grew up in a communist environment. That was it. You know, I was just so happy that my father and my sister are communists. That's it. So, please.
Will you let me believe I'm younger than I am and have the audience believe it too? No, but seriously, it feels very like you're there because that's something I'm not familiar with. It's something that, you know, we don't talk about a lot because we don't have a lot of reason to, I guess. So the way you're describing it, it's like knowing that that actually happened is, I got goosebumps the entire time you were reading that. Fascinating.
Yeah, it was an interesting trip, and that was 1988. So in 1989, the wall came down. So it was literally about 6 to 8 months after I'd been there that the whole communist bloc fell apart. So I was lucky in a way that I could do it at the time because, yeah, a year later it was gone. It was an incredible experience.
Right, let's get to our poll. So let me have a look here. And yeah, for the most part, people are affected by the Christmas environment, and the creativity is just gone. Any comments on that? So it seems that our viewers are not able to handle the Christmas pressure. Any comments on that, Jeroen, Maria?
I think it's probably not just in creative people, but I think that people probably suspend most reality over Christmas. You know, it's not just kind of in the creative side of things, but I do think that people just, you know, suspend reality. And yeah, I mean, there's also a very good reason for that. I mean, Christmas time is right in the middle of the winter where the weather is the worst. You know, the days are, you know, dark. It's dark until, I don't know, lunchtime, and then about 1:05, it's dark again. So you get like 5 minutes of actual sunlight. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, it like in that kind of time, it's obvious that a lot of people just, you know, they don't have the energy, the motivation to do things they would normally do. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's I suppose it's logical, really, you know. You hang it on that Christmas hook of like, sure, it's Christmas. Everything gets put onto the sure it's Christmas hook. You know what I mean?
I'd like to say it's definitely not going to be this way for me, but I'm afraid I'm going to get distracted by family, board games, and falling into a food coma. So I'll keep you posted, but I'm really hoping it will not be a problem for me this year. It will not distract me that much, but
sure,
it's just what?
Sure, it's Christmas.
That's what I'm going to tell you in January. You should note that down, bro. But it's just, it's something. The atmosphere is so out of the ordinary.
Yeah,
it's very normal to just get, you know, swept up in it and forget all that you said you were going to do or all you planned, and I don't know. We'll see. January podcast is going to be an interesting one.
I tell you what, it's going to be like a real like morose, and it's all over.
Yeah, it's a holiday, isn't it? And like most holidays, when one returns home, we are twice as tired. So
100%.
we all know that concept of I need a holiday after my holiday because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know you guys. It's more about the expat life, but we can touch base quicker. Like when we go home, Belgium or Flanders and Greece or myself Portugal, I don't think I need another holiday. I think I need like 3 holidays just to recover from that one. One is not enough.
100%. I totally agree with you. You nearly feel like you don't need just one more holiday. You need maybe another month off to try and get over the whole
thing.
So
if you're away for a week in your home country, you need 1 month. If you're away in Spain or Italy, then you need maybe a week or 5 days. But if you are at home, you need 4 times the time you spent in your home country because you are just drained. You are wrecked. That's most of us experience. Yeah.
No, I'm not. It's the first year in my life that I'm not going back for Christmas. I'll be going back for New Year's, but I'll be spending Christmas in Ireland. And it's fascinating because I don't know what to expect. Never done it before. I usually know how it's going to go. And I know it's only going to be delayed by a couple of days, but I'm so I feel so lost on what is going to be like this year. But no, I usually need a month every time after every time I've gone home just to recover from how sad I feel that I've left all of that behind and I'm here now, and the grind again. So January, hard month.
I think January is probably the hardest and the worst month, Maybe they should move Christmas to January. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
What are you? I know I'm not trying to convert you. I know you are like me. You hate to be preached, but you can be Russian Orthodox, and then problem is solved. Christmas in January.
Why not? If you had Christmas in January, it might be a lot better because then you're breaking up the worst month of the year.
I won't be surprised.
Everybody's like,
and you're there.
Next time you are on this workshop, we look at you and just behind you we can see the Kremlin. You just moved to Moscow.
I think not.
And you were saying, this is water, my friend. This is not vodka.
I'll consider it. If it's ever on the table, I'll consider it.
In Greece, is Easter bigger than Christmas, Maria?
Traditionally, yes. Again, for religious reasons, but that has gone down the drain. I feel it's a bigger food festival now than it is a religious celebration. But Christmas, because of all the gifts and the ads and the everything, I feel it's bigger now. But Easter holds bigger significance, really. And we'd definitely gather up with family to eat and put music on. So Christmas is much more like what you'd expect and see in Western countries now. So Easter is not. So it's going to be, I dare say it's not going to be that much different as in what I'm going to do during the day, I guess, but the feeling of it, much different in Easter.
That's interesting, this westernization of Europe, because my girlfriend is from Ukraine, although she's from Hungarian ethnicity. So we usually say she's Hungarian from Transcarpathia. That's how they describe themselves. But anyway, she was shocked when she moved to Western Europe that Easter is not a thing here, because for them, Easter is still number 1 and Christmas is number 2. If it wasn't for the commercialization of Christmas, they would always think that Christmas will be number 2. But now, as we are all the same everywhere in Europe, of course, Christmas is the priority.
No, I'll give you one little cultural nugget. In Greece, before the Christmas tree became such a thing, people would put up and decorated ship models like wooden ships and stuff, because we are a naval country, we're an island country. So that holds great significance for us. A lot of people worked in ships, in boats, would be away for that time. So that was our way to connect to each other and, keep a tradition alive. You'd put out like a wooden something of a ship, and that's what you like. So you'd see photos where they're decorated with lights and stuff, and then Christmas tree just took over everything, and now it would be difficult to find the ships anymore.
That's actually really cool. That's a really cool tradition. I like that.
Yeah. And yet I have a tree, so I'm just full of it.
All right. So before we wrap up, let's just finish with two big announcements. Okay, so we have two big announcements here. Hope people are ready. It's about the Witty Wicklow Writers Workshop. We'll be back live. We're back live, and we're not going to wait much. January is not that bad. We have our first event in Dublin, 20th of January. So January won't be as boring and beige. There'll be 20th of January. This workshop will take place in Smithfield, Dublin 7, in the hotel lobby of Hendrick. Okay, so if you want to see us in person, happen to be in Ireland, add to your calendar this day, 20th of January. We will be there. Delivering this workshop in a similar manner. Of course, we're going to adjust the topics, and we're going to talk about Christmas again. Don't worry. So that's on the cards. Actually, it's not on the cards. It's confirmed. Now, second big announcement that I want to share here with people is that we will also head to Longford, County Longford, in May. I know it's still a few months away from now, but we will be part of the Maria Edgeworth Festival. So on Friday 15, we'll deliver this workshop in person. If you happen to be in Longford or in the Midlands, we'll be very happy to see you there. There are a couple of events in the pipeline. Hope there'll be more, but we'll also be here online, so you're not going anywhere far. And we intend to broadcast those episodes. Those live episodes that people who are not in Ireland are able to watch live. So I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank you guys for participating in this conversation. I want to let people know that we are not going to wish anyone Merry Christmas or Happy New Year, because we'll be back on Thursday. What happens on Thursday? I'll be doing a review of 2025 and a preview of 2026 when it comes to this YouTube channel. Okay, and I want every major contributor to participate. So Jeroen and Maria are very kind, and they will join us at some point for 10-15 minutes. We're going to talk about our ideas when it comes to the Witty Wicklow Writers Workshop, what we did, and what we want to achieve going forward. So make sure to tune on Thursday. I think we're going to start at 6:30. It's going to be a few of us, not just the three that are on screen, but a couple of others that maybe are familiar if you watch other podcast series. If you want to be part of the community, there are two ways. You can become a witty mate or witty diplomat. Choose what suits you best. And if you want to share this podcast with someone who may benefit of the conversation you had today, don't hesitate. And if you want to let us know how much satisfied you are, make sure to press the thumbs up. So I hope to see you tomorrow, and not next year, because there are still a few interesting sessions in the next few days. So guys, have a good evening. Everyone out there, the same. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.